Hey everyone, Warp Speed Weirdos, episode 2. Just the new stuff.
You got a tricorder mind. I got a Klingon grin. Warp speed weirdos have a unique core. Two weirdos go all in. Warp speed weirdos watch the Trekkies soar. Deep cut, full tilt, begin. Yeah!
Okay, hey everyone.
Yeah.
This is Warp Speed Weirdos episode 2, and boy, it's taken us over a half hour just to get to this point right here. Because just like in Star Trek, technology doesn't always work the way we want it to.
No, but it moves the plot forward.
It does. Well, yeah, we're kind of losing the plot, though, I think, with this one. Of course, my co-host, which is not that one, it's this one. I had to hit the right button. Jeff Gamet. Here we are.
Guy Searle.
Yeah, and things are moving right along. Yeah. So basically, you and I were talking on Dave's show, In Touch with iOS, last Thursday night, and decided it was time to do a new Warp Speed Weirdos. And we were, talking about what we were going to talk about. And considering that they just started the 4th season of Strange New Worlds, we should probably talk about that. And before we actually talk about the episodes, I know a lot of people were somewhat disappointed with season 3. How did you find season 3?
I enjoyed it a lot, but I get why a lot of people didn't enjoy it. For me, I'm totally fine with what has happened with Trek over the decades, where they experiment and they try things and they do different stuff, and I am so okay with that. But I know there's a lot of people where they see an episode where something happens that just doesn't work for them. Like we've had the fairy tale episode, we've had the musical episode.
Okay, hold on right there. The musical episode, I know a lot of people hated it. I thought it was brilliant.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Choreographed Klingon warships turning in circles as the Enterprise is like turning in an opposite circle with the music blasting in the background. And they were ready to blow up their ship because all they could do was break into song.
Yeah, who would have thought that Klingons would have been boy band material? But here we are. Yeah. But I get it. For some people, that's not their thing.
Yeah,
they want their Star Trek, and that can be a different thing for a lot of different people. So sure, I appreciate that season 3 for many people, for some people, was difficult, but I really enjoyed it.
I did too. But there was like some glaring changes in the types of episodes that we were seeing as that season went on. Like we went from, there was the cliffhanger at the end of season 2 with the Gorn. And then, we're dealing with lots of death and destruction and the new look of the Gorn and all the rest of that. And then the very next episode, they're doing something crazy. So, maybe it was just the abrupt shift that had some people upset, or maybe it was because it wasn't the Trek that they expected.
I think it's more that it wasn't the Trek they expected.
Okay. Well,
we've always had lots of bouncing around between episodes for theme or storyline. And I don't see that as a big deal. Although I guess some people would. There are some people that are very comfortable with having a formula. And when you deviate from that formula, then they're uncomfortable. But the other side of that is if you follow the formula all the time, it becomes boring and monotonous.
And if there's one thing that Strange New Worlds has not been, is boring and monotonous.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you and I have already talked. I think we were talking about it on the first episode. That things like Discovery and Starfleet Academy were not my bag, and it wasn't because it like wasn't it that or sorry, it wasn't because it was new Trek. It was just there were so many things changed in it that just didn't make any sense, and it just put me off from the moment that it started as far as Discovery goes. I really liked the first and the last two episodes of Starfleet Academy.
Hmm.
Most of the ones in between, which I did watch, were kind of like, okay, so you don't know who you want to date or what. It's like, do something Star Trekish instead of just hanging
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
you know,
And I did enjoy both of those
mhm,
series for what they were. Um, eh, Although season one of Discovery, that one was, I felt,
tough.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can say the same thing about season one of Discovery and Next
Oh
Generation.
yeah. Especially
And
Next Generation.
yeah, and well, at the end of season one of Deep Space Nine, I felt like the show should not have been renewed, but I'm glad it was.
Yeah.
And I
And they
went
got back on
into
track finally.
they did, yeah.
But let's save that for
That's
another
another
show.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But as far as new Trek goes, or stuff that new was coming out, next to Strange New Worlds, absolute best show was Lower Decks.
Lower, yes, I agree with you. And it made me so happy to see a crossover between what were the two best properties at the time,
Yeah,
Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks.
that was a season 2 episode where
Yeah.
they had the crossover between those two shows, and then they even referred to it in Lower Decks again later on for the Voyager episode.
Right. And yes, and they made a reference back to it on Strange New Worlds
Oh, did
later
they?
on as well. Yeah.
I don't remember
And
that one.
there was some reference about, we can't talk about that.
Oh, okay. All right. So we've kind of talked a little bit about the problems that people had with season 3. Going into there was no cliffhanger going into season 4. I think the big
Mhm.
cliffhanger was there going to be a season 4 at the end of season 3? Fortunately, it was renewed, and they actually
Mhm.
filmed most of season 4 right after they got done filming season 3. So, they were going to do something with it. And the first two episodes, as we record this on Saturday, August 1st, have both been released through Paramount Plus or wherever
Mhm.
you get your Star Trek from. And why don't you bring us into that first episode?
Okay, sure. First episode is titled Avalis Marinus. And so, of course, that's a reference to the massive valley on Mars. And that ultimately plays into this episode.
And
Um,
and it starts off kind of weird because it's obviously an alien vista that you're looking at.
mhm.
And then you have members of the Enterprise coming by on horseback, which was kind of
Dressed
weird.
in Wild West cowboy gear.
Yes.
Although there is this pattern that we've had with captains of the Enterprise being
Liking
into
horses.
horses,
Yeah.
because we have Captain Kirk, Captain Picard, and now Captain Pike. They all love their horses.
Even
So,
Captain Sulu through Lower Decks.
oh yeah, that's true. Captain Sulu. Yep.
The
Um,
horsey's going to bite you now. What?
oh,
So good.
I love that show.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was fun getting to see that. I mean, it's like I have no idea where they're going with this,
yeah.
but it was a fun opening scene. Here we get some Star Trek characters dressed up as cowboys on horseback, riding across an alien landscape, and it was mostly eye candy.
Yeah,
and I'm
very
here
much so.
for it. It was fine.
And there wasn't really a whole lot of talk about why they were there. It didn't really even matter in some
No, it
ways.
didn't matter.
It was just, okay, here's people from the future from a spaceship on horses, and you can see all the alien stuff that's obviously green screened or AI generated or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back to the ship, and he meets up with number one, Una,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, I get the next away mission. And she came to regret those words, I think.
She did, but at the same time, she's a very qualified
She is
officer and commander. So well done,
one
Una.
of the best in the fleet. And considering, now, I don't know what's going to go on. I mean, let's take a detour here for just a second.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to go on after season 5. If they're going to continue this with, the new Kirk and Spock and all the rest of them still on the Enterprise. I hope that this is not the last that we see of number one from this show, that she's used in some way going forward. Rebecca Romaine,
Yeah.
she's just, I keep hitting my microphone. She's just so great in this role.
Yeah, I would hate to see her just gone.
Yeah.
And we do have the ability to have her show up in some capacity, because where this next Star Trek series will pick up, assuming it does happen,
Yeah.
it's when Captain Kirk first takes command of the Enterprise. Now we know that his XO, his second in command, is Spock. So when Pike hands over command, by that point, his number one, Una, she will be gone. But we don't know if that happens before the handover or as part of the handover. What I would like to see is that she takes on some other role that gives her the opportunity to have recurring appearances.
Yeah.
And actually maybe they gave us the setup for this in the second episode of Strange New Worlds from the new season,
Which we'll go into in just a minute, or
yeah,
probably be longer than a minute
in a few minutes.
Yeah, at some point during this podcast. What I'm curious about, because if you remember the second pilot that they did for the original series,
Mm-hmm.
Kirk's number, it wasn't clear who the first officer was, whether it was Spock or
Gary Mitchell.
Because Gary Mitchell was Kirk's friend, and apparently also didn't know his middle initial. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Typos in stone, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a godlike being. You've got other things to think about than people's middle initial, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how much, if it continues, and I hope it does, how much they will carry from canon from the original series from the 60s. And they don't have to at this point, because I just kind of feel that at some point there are certain things that happened in the original series that they just have to let go. For example, the control surfaces and stuff like that. They're not going to revert from touch screens and all that to little glowing buttons on a plastic desk.
Yeah, and that's true. And they've already said that.
Yes.
They said that when they designed the new sets, they interpreted them for a modern audience based on the technologies we have available today to create sets like this. And they feel like if this technology had been available to Gene Roddenberry back in 1966,
he would have done the same.
Sure. And I'm totally fine with that.
Me too.
And we do know that by the end of season 5, we will have been introduced to Sulu and McCoy, because the actors playing those roles have been announced.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. But All
Oh,
right, let's
yeah.
save that for
We have so many
a different
things to
show.
talk about in the
I
future.
know, and we keep let's get back to episode 1. So the mission that Pike was on, along with some of the other people, it finishes. They go back to the Enterprise, and they're assigned to investigate this huge stellar storm that's going on somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's a rare opportunity to be able to uh, see and study this type of stellar phenomena.
Right.
So it's like a softball mission for Enterprise, and which is good
Supposedly.
because supposedly, but we know that's never how it works out.
Exactly.
And we know this is an important softball mission for them to have because the crew's been running breakneck for 6 months because Captain Pike can't find a way to process his grief over losing his girlfriend
Right.
at the
From the
end of season
previous
3.
season. Right.
And
So
number one calls him out on it.
yeah, yeah, she does. So they get to the storm, and I don't know how much we're going to do on spoilers. I mean, let's at some point there's going to be spoilers as we're talking about this.
Yeah, you
So
should always watch the episode before tuning in for our show.
right, and I will try to keep it down, but I can't guarantee that's going to happen. They get to the storm, they get a distress call, and they go into the storm trying to find wherever this distress call is, and then of course something happens, and
Mm-hmm.
they get thrown into a different part of space from where they started, and it does so much damage to the ship that they don't even have stellar mapping, so they're not even sure where they are, which comes into play
Mm-hmm.
later on. So they're trying to figure out what to do, and they need something from a particular planet. And why don't you take it from there?
All right. So they don't even have transporters
Right.
at this point. So number one gets her wish, and she's on her away mission. And so she takes the shuttlecraft, and she takes the best pilot that she can, and so that would be oh my gosh, I'm suddenly forgetting
I know.
character names.
I know.
Oh no, Ortegas. Wow, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah. I did
And
too. I was sitting there going, God, please remember it, because I can't either.
I've got your back. So
Okay. Good.
Ortegas and then La'an.
Mhm.
So
She's
she
getting
had
a lot of play this season.
I think that's actually important that she's getting a lot of play right now because we're going to see a lot happening with her character.
Yeah.
And I believe we really got the setup for that in episode 2, but we're not there yet.
No.
So off they go so that they can find the
Iridium?
material, the
Isn't that it?
iridium that they need. Yeah, because they need iridium to ignite the warp engines. And they found a source. So the shuttlecraft goes off to get that while the rest of the crew works on repairs. And by the way, oh, nope, sorry, we're saying it out of big spoiler territory. So I'm not going to share one of my favorite lines that came out of the Ready Room discussion about where they, this whole study that they were sent to do. Anyhow, so while we have our away team landing on a planet that has volcanoes and stuff, we have the rest of the crew suddenly in a new dilemma because there's another spaceship there, and it's basically just taking the Enterprise hostage now.
Yep. They are not friendly.
They're not, which of course they're not going to be friendly because the Enterprise has no defenses. And they don't have sensors. They're basically
No
blind.
shields, no phasers, no no photon torpedoes. Words are hard, Jeff.
I know.
So they're trying to talk to these people who have they had pointed ears, didn't they? Kind of pointed.
They did. Yeah, they look more like elf pointed ears than Vulcan or Romulan pointed ears.
So they're at some point they figure out what's happening. We're not going to say what happened. Well, I mean, we've done so many spoilers at this time, at this point. Um, but it's very important that things happen the way that they're supposed to happen, because this is a time travel episode as well.
Yes.
Yes. So, how much farther do you think we should go into this? Should we just say screw it and just talk about everything?
We've given people the spoiler alert, and we really can't talk about the rest of the episode without going into spoiler territory.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So everyone, if you haven't watched the episode yet, pause, go watch it, then come back, because from this point forward, we really have to go into spoiler territory.
Yep. So we'll give you a second. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so
Hey, we missed you while you were
nice.
gone.
Oh, I can't do it either. Damn. There, I'll just do that instead.
That works.
All right, so the thing is, they're in the past and they're in a very familiar system, because as it turns out, go ahead.
Yep. They're Spock gets enough sensors online to be able to say we're in the Sol system. So they're in our solar system. And
65 million years in the past.
yeah. And so it turns out that our away team has landed on Earth, and they are now encountering dinosaurs.
Yes, they are.
So we've gone from cowboys on horses to away teams with dinosaurs, all in the same
So
episode.
good. It was so good. And the special effect, and remember, we're talking about, I mean, it has a relatively high budget for a television show. And the effects are pretty good. I mean, they're not, Spider-Man One More Day kind of effects, but they're very well done.
Brand new day.
For television. Yes, brand new day for television. And so you see the dinosaurs, they come across a Carnotaurus, or one of the bigger, it wasn't a T-Rex, because they had died out long time before then, but it was a big predator.
Yeah, it was a large bipedal predator dinosaur.
Yeah,
Enough people are going to look at it and say T-Rex, so whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to outwit the T-Rex, and by outwit, what I mean is figure out how to get around it to get to this iridium source, and
not kill it.
And not kill it, because they don't want to risk doing anything that could damage the timeline.
Yep.
And once again, number one shows that she's hardcore. And she's like, okay, so I need you to distract the T-Rex or the dinosaur long enough so that I can get in position so I can shoot it in the mouth, because their phasers aren't effective against its tough hide.
Well, and she's just so big.
Yeah, and she does. And everyone's like, wow, okay,
good enough. So
yeah,
they get the iridium, they get back to the shuttlecraft, and they haven't gotten back to the Enterprise yet, because at this point the Martians, because this alien species lives on Mars, and they're fighting with these creatures on the fifth planet that are like these kind of mindless bugs,
like an insectoid type species, but they're not really mindless, because
it's like a hive mind
they're
kind of
they're a spacefaring species. So
yes.
we have two spacefaring species in our solar system, 65 million years ago.
Right. And they've been fighting, and they've already hit Mars with something that like just turned a whole part of the planet into a desert. So the Martians are understandably not happy.
Well, the Martians did that. The aliens,
right.
the doldrum, that's the name of the species. They attacked Mars, and Mars fought back. This massive ship that the doldrums have.
Ship.
Yeah, it ends up crashing on Mars, creates this massive crater, valley, and that's where the episode name comes from. And then they start working their way out from there to try and take over Mars. The only way the Martians were able to hold them back was to do this
Scorched
massively
earth.
destructive scorched earth thing on like a third of their planet. And
Yeah.
so they're in this ongoing war, and they have now claimed Enterprise as salvage, so that they can use whatever technologies are in the ship
Right.
to
That isn't
fight
working.
the doldrums.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So at this point, Pike manages to get the Martians to come over to the ship, and they're kind of talking to them and trying to, and they're being as careful as they can, so that talking about the Federation and all that, so that they don't give away the fact that they're from the future, because
right.
at some point the Martians do figure that out, and they see that Mars is a lifeless planet in Pike's time. So what do? They go and they grab something. What was it that they grabbed?
They steal one of the antimatter containers,
Yes, yes, that's right.
and so they steal that because they see that they understand what it is, and they see that as something that they can use in their war against the doldrums, and they escape with it.
Yeah, and there's nothing that the Enterprise can do to stop them, because they can literally just walk through walls.
Yes.
So they go back to their ship and they fire up their engines, and they're headed for the doldrum planet with the intent on blowing themselves up along, with the antimatter, and trying to destroy their planet, the doldrums planet, versus them trying to destroy the Martian planet. And once everything kind of gets resolved to that point, Pike just kind of stands down, because he's kind of seeing what's happening and what's gonna happen, and realizes that this was what was supposed to be.
Right, because this fifth planet
Doesn't
doesn't
exist.
exist.
Yeah. It's that huge asteroid belt that's just beyond Mars.
It's part of the huge asteroid belt.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people complaining, saying, "Oh, there's no way that one planet could be the whole asteroid belt." Spock makes it very clear this planet's debris, after it's destroyed, gets incorporated into the asteroid belt.
Right. And at this same time, the shuttlecraft makes it back to the Enterprise. They're fixing their systems as they're watching the Martian ship headed for the doldrum planet, the fifth planet. And once that explodes, a number of things happen over the very, very short period of time. Mars gets moved, kind of pushed out of their orbit a little bit, and it becomes hotter than it was before, while at the same time, a large piece of the doldrums planet is the meteor that hit 65 million years ago on Earth that wiped out the dinosaurs. So it was like, okay, could we have stopped them from blowing up the doldrums planet? Maybe. But that would have doomed everything else that was happening
Right.
in the regular timeline, or in the future timeline where Pike and the Enterprise and all that other happy stuff is. But the look on Pike's face, and getting not just Una, there was another person that was like, "We got to stop them. They're going to do this," and he was like, "No, just
we can't.
We can't. There's nothing that we can do." And at that point, the space rift kind of opens up again for no particular reason.
Well, actually, we have a reason.
Oh, okay, tell me.
Okay, so Spock, of course, is running numbers because that's what he does. And he realizes that the antimatter detonation with this planet will release enough energy for the Enterprise to be able to use that to jump back to their present time.
Right.
And so, of course, they have to do a little bit of timing with that. But yeah, so they're able to use that antimatter explosion.
To get back.
So, yeah, so no reason, just if you weren't paying attention, because it was all happening fast, it
Yeah,
would
it
be
was.
real easy to miss
Didn't
that.
remember that part.
By the
But
way, before we go any farther,
yeah,
I
go
have to
ahead.
jump back now that we're so deep into spoiler territory and talk about my favorite line from early in the episode when they're
Okay.
having the briefing. And
Yeah.
Pelia, she says, "Oh, the last time I saw one of these stellar events was, I don't know, a couple thousand years ago." And she says, "And I believe I was in a phone booth."
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is our second Doctor Who reference in the series.
Yes. And that is, and everybody just kind of looks over at her like, what? Oh, okay. It's her. And so they have this Doctor Who reference without saying it, but it's just so weird. And I remember last season when she became kind of a semi regular, I guess,
Mhm.
when she was talking about her species. It was like, oh, I tried dropping acid in the 1960s and it just never affected me. It was like, it just doesn't do anything for me. So she's
Mhm.
really upset that she can't expand her mind a little bit. But Carol Kane is such a wonderful actress, and
She is.
she is playing this part, and it's the kind of part kind of similar to Simca that she played in Taxi, where there's no middle ground. It's
Oh, yeah,
all
that's fair.
out. There's none of this. Okay, I'm gonna dial it down a little bit. No, Simca wasn't like that, and this engineer isn't like that.
Yeah, Pelly is not like that either.
No,
Yeah.
and she plays that part so well. She The
Yeah.
addition of her into the crew, when I first saw her coming on, it was like, oh, please make her a regular, please, 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 and they did, and I am so grateful for that.
Yeah, me
Yeah, it's
too.
too bad they couldn't get Andy Kaufman on too, but
You
things
know,
happen.
there's still
He's
the
a
whole
busy
thing
guy.
with maybe he's playing the most incredible long tail joke ever.
2030, he suddenly comes out of hiding. Um,
Right. Yeah, they could pull this together so well. Pelia has to do an emergency transport of someone, and they beam off the planet. But when they materialize on the Enterprise, it's Andy Kaufman, and he goes, "Thank you very much,"
Thank you very much.
and the episode ends.
Yeah, that would be so funny. One of the other things that happened on this particular episode was the distress call that they were picking up, as it turns out, was from themselves. So
Yeah.
they went into the cloud hearing the distress call, thinking that we've got to rescue someone, when it was themselves coming back out the other side or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
So after they were thrown backwards in time and they didn't know where or when they were,
Right.
they launched a distress buoy because they didn't
Okay.
have
Yes.
communications.
You are
And
so right.
so their distress buoy that they had launched all that time ago, it had been caught up in all of the back and forth stuff as well. So they were able to pick up their own distress signal,
Which is what
that
drew them in the
which
first
is what drew
place.
them in. Yeah.
That was a great first episode for
It
Strange New
was.
Worlds.
Yeah, I thought it was well done, and I have some people complaining that it was so stupid. They went and fought dinosaurs on Earth, and I'm like, come on, people.
It's fantasy.
Yeah, it is, but that's not my Star Trek. No, actually, it is.
Yeah,
It's just this is the time where
Yeah.
the technology is there to tell this kind of a story. So
Kirk,
yeah,
Spock, and McCoy ended up on some kind of planet to fight cowboys at the OK Corral. Okay.
yeah, where they
So
didn't even have full sets.
no, it was just like the backdrop of sets, which in itself was funny. But there are just times when the show, and this was a more grounded episode. There were, yes, okay, you had the horses in the beginning, you had the dinosaurs, you had, talking about phone booths from, Time Lords and all the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it all worked. It all fit in together when they wrapped up the episode. And I thought that this, especially being a first episode of the season, was particularly strong.
Yeah, I thought it was a strong first episode.
Yes.
And, honestly, there are no weak episodes in the series at all. There's some episodes that are better than others,
Yes.
but I've never seen an episode of this series where I thought, wow, that was actually a dud.
Yeah. And the way that they're kind of, because I mean, they've taken some of the elements of when Pike was on the Discovery and finding out things about his future, and they've brought that into this show without dwelling on it to the point where it's like, okay, it's the whole episode where Pike is all depressed because these things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes up every once in a while. And his girlfriend that got killed last season, the other captain,
Mm-hmm.
she knew about it. I don't know if she particularly believed it, but she accepted that he believed it, which was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So the setup for Strange New Worlds and the way that the episodes have kind of evolved over time, over the 3 full seasons and now the 4th season, has been excellent. And I have no complaints. No, I mean, you can nitpick anything to death, but I have no major complaints about Strange New Worlds, and that episode was just great. Now,
Yeah, I'm with you.
let's move on to the second episode, which in a lot of ways was even better, if that was even possible. The Griffin incident.
Yeah, the Griffin incident. And I did not know what to expect from this episode because I actually hadn't seen any of the promotional stuff that goes out for the next week's episode. And yeah, so I was surprised the whole way through, and I love how they played the whole psychological element for all of the characters.
Yes,
and I thought they told a really good horror story.
now, and which complaint, though.
Okay.
I don't believe that the Griffin should have been a Constitution class ship. But that's a
so why?
Point.
Because I didn't care. So I'm curious, why should not be a Constitution?
I'm stupid with canon, which is why Discovery pissed me off so much. But the Griffin, including the NCC number for it,
mm-hmm.
is not in canon. So this was a Constitution class ship that no one has ever talked about in any of the previous seasons, not just of Strange New Worlds, but going all the way back to the original series. If they had made it some other kind of ship, because I mean, obviously they're going to reuse the sets from Enterprise,
of course,
for all of this, but ships have, I mean, just because you're on a battleship versus a cruiser doesn't mean that you're going to walk down a corridor and know that whether or not you're on a cruiser or you're on an aircraft carrier, because
mm-hmm.
it all looks the same. So, I think that was a mistake, but that's nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking, because the episode itself was just so good. So
the episode was wonderful.
So good. Take us into the synopsis of this episode.
All right. And I'll preface with, I'm okay with the Griffin being a Constitution class ship because there's so many ships in the Federation. We can have stuff that people haven't talked about.
Okay.
or that we haven't heard them talk about. But I appreciate your issue with that. Okay, so here's our quick run-in synopsis for the episode, and I think I think I have a better way to do this than I did with the first episode, because we're figuring out what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
So the episode opens with Lieutenant Commander Kirk and La'an and Spock on shuttlecraft from Enterprise, and they're returning from some symposium
Conference,
thing,
yeah.
a conference, which is a trope that has come up in Star Trek
So many
more than
times.
once.
Yeah.
But
that's
it's
fine.
it's fine. It's an easy setup,
Yeah.
and explains away why this guy from a different ship is with our Enterprise crew, and it's even part of the opening monologue. And so they're on their way back to Enterprise, and they end up picking up a signal from that. They're like, "Huh, we need to check this out. It's in like an asteroid field." And they go in, and they discover the Griffin,
Right. Which hadn't
the
been
starship,
seen in 9 years.
right? And no one knows what happened to it. It was just gone. And there have been theories, and most of them assume it had been destroyed. But yet, here's this ship, 9 years lost.
Right.
And
with very
so they're
little
like,
outside damage.
yeah, I mean, it's showing some wear and tear,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look like it's been in a battle.
Right.
And so that's our teaser intro, most of it. And so the setup is, we now have these people that are isolated from Enterprise. Enterprise won't be able to get to them for a certain amount of time, and they have the mystery of this ship. They go on board to discover what has happened, and that quickly leads to the psychological horror story that the three of these characters have to endure before finally resolving what happens.
So they come on board, and they're slowly kind of making their way around. They each have
we have to
flashlight or
stop.
torches. Yeah, go
We
ahead.
have to stop right there.
Boy
Okay,
Scout.
so yes, we're getting references to Kirk's life and things that have happened in his life. And like, one of the first is a direct tie into Wrath of Khan, because Kirk was supposed to have gone to see Carol Marcus and their baby son David, and he can't. When they get ready to go on board the Griffin, they only have 2 flashlights. They need 3. Kirk opens up his bag and says, "Well, I've got one. I used to be a Boy Scout, you know."
Yeah. So good.
And
So-
which
real
and
quick,
there's
there were the tension between the 3 characters, because La'an kind of had a thing for Kirk based on her encounter with him in a different timeline.
right, yeah, she literally had a thing with Kirk in a different
Right.
timeline.
But of course, Kirk doesn't remember any of it because it didn't
'Cause he
actually
wasn't
happen
there.
to him.
Yeah,
And of course, La'an, well, not of course, but La'an and Spock have a little something
friends
going
with
on.
benefit thing going
Friends
on.
with benefits thing going on. And so there's a little bit of, and Kirk knows that La'an has feelings for him, because she told him that without going into the whole story of how they had met and all the rest of that. So there is some tension there. It doesn't really play too much into the story, but when they're all 3 of them are in the shuttlecraft, you can kind of see it.
You can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they beam on board the Griffin,
No, they don't. They go on board to the shuttle deck. Don't they?
no, they beam on board
Oh,
the Griffin
You're right. I am
because
I
they
am
can't get
0
the shuttle
for
base
10.
open.
Right. I am
That's-
0
that-
for 10 tonight.
That's okay, because at some point you're going to catch me on something that's wrong. By the way, this is such a change for me. When Patrice Brindamore and I are doing retro rewatch,
Mhm.
I get everything in the wrong order, and And she's like, no, Jeff, that's not right. She's so patient with me. So I suppose this is how the universe balances itself out. All right, when they beam on board the Griffin, it's this wide shot, and we see them beaming on and materializing. And there's the light from the materialization. If you look at the right side of your screen, you'll see the zombie character, the ghost character that they encounter later on.
Right.
And so it lights up and you can see them there, and as it fades down, the character's gone. And
So
and
good.
it's one of those things that if you don't catch it, well, you don't catch it, but if you do, it's like, okay, this is already going south on these people.
Right. Right. And there's no life signs aboard this ship at all. So
Right.
they get onto the ship and they're kind of walking around and checking things out, and they come across they start hearing noises. Kirk is hearing like a baby noise,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody else hears it except him. And as they're walking down this corridor, they come across this woman who is not looking a little worse for wear.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what it was she says to them, but then she turns around, goes around a corner, and the three of them go running up, and they get to that same corner and look, and it's like 6 feet away to a solid door that's not going to open.
Right.
So where did she go, kind of thing.
Right. And she said, I believe it was along the lines of, I've been waiting for you, or I've been
Yes.
expecting you.
Yes.
And so, of course, they're running scans. They're like, well, I mean, clearly didn't transport, but there's this negative ion field or something.
Right.
And then Kirk says to Spock, are you saying this is Ghost? And Spock says, no, I'm saying I'm detecting a negative ion field.
So literal. So they end up going to sick bay. Was sick bay the room that was like all blocked off that they had to? Yes. Sick bay
Yeah.
was blocked off and had like these big beams on it and stuff. And so while La'an and Spock are clearing that, Kirk is supposed to be watching their six, but then he hears the baby noise again and
Mhm.
starts kind of walking down the corridor, at which point you get kind of your first jump scare where La'an comes up behind him and you just see this hand grab his shoulder, and it's La'an. It's not like, it was one of the ghosts or anything. And
Mhm.
so they go into sick bay, there's nothing in sick bay, and they start looking at some of the logs of the ship. And they run across these personal logs from the security officer from the ship. And at some point, Kirk and La'an decide to go to the bridge, and Spock is staying in sickbay.
Yeah, based on the information that they can get, the limited information at that point.
And they're running out of time because the power is about to run out.
Right. So La'an, she takes command of this whole thing.
Yep.
And she says, I think we need to split up. Spock, you stay here and work on getting data logs back up so we can figure out more about what's happening. Jim and I will go to the bridge and see if we can get communication systems or any other systems operational again.
Right.
And so they leave.
Yeah,
and
because
Spock,
splitting up works so well in every single episode of Scooby-Doo.
Right. But if you're doing a horror movie,
yeah,
you need your characters to split up so that you can have a terror for each of them.
You know what that kind of reminded me of? Did you see the it was one of the insurance companies commercials where there's like 4 teenagers running through a graveyard and there's a guy with like a chainsaw chasing them, and they're like, no, let's go into the barn where all the other, chainsaws and axes are. And they're just hiding. And the killer is like behind him, kind of takes off his mask. And he's just like, what? He said, let's go to, then one guy's like, let's go to the car that's running that we can just get. No, you crazy. Go through the graveyard. It's such a great commercial. But anyway.
I have not seen that one, but
that's really good.
I feel like I've missed out on something.
So
yeah,
and then Kirk and La'an split up, or do they go to the bridge? The two of them?
They do, and so okay. So what happens? They leave. Spock is alone in sickbay. There have been all these body bags that have been just piled up but
Right.
empty,
And one
and
falls for no
yeah, and
reason.
Spock's like, "Huh, that's odd." And but then he's heading over to look at the computer system, and he gets it up and running to a degree. He's getting information, and then then we see over his shoulder there's now a body bag on each med bed,
With a
and there's a
body.
body in it, and one of them sits up.
Yeah.
And but the information that Spock is getting,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is bad. I need to let everyone know. We need to get out. And but now communication doesn't work. But on the bridge, they've been able to pull up enough information that that La'an's like, we've got to get out of here. And Kirk's like, I'm going to work on communications. And La'an says, okay, I'm going to get with Spock. We're going to get to engineering. We're going to see if we can get some power for you
Right.
to
But
do that.
remember also what happened is they look out the view screen, and what do they see? The shuttlecraft
Oh, their shuttle has been destroyed.
has been destroyed. So they're not leaving that way.
Right. Yeah. So now it's like, well, can we get enough power to get this out of here, or to at least get a strong enough signal so that Enterprise knows to come find us? Because all they have right now is a slow, long-range transmission that went to Enterprise.
Right.
And yeah, so La'an, she sends Spock a message, but apparently doesn't realize that he isn't receiving
Getting
it.
Right.
And tells
He's
him,
a little
meet me in.
distracted.
Yeah, meet me in engineering. She gets in the elevator to go to engineering, but it keeps dropping her on deck 17, and no matter
Yes.
what she does, she's stuck on deck 17.
And it's moving. The lift is moving, but every single time it
Yes.
stops, deck 17.
Yeah, and Spock, the person in that body bag, turned out to be his
T'Pring.
ex, T'Pring. And so he's having this logical discussion with her about she's like, I'm obviously experiencing a dream, but it's odd that I would be here in this dream with you, Spock. And Spock's like, you are obviously some sort of hallucination. And it's odd that it would be you. And so they're having this whole logical discussion. She's like, if I am part of your imagination, then, and she goes into this whole psychological analysis of Spock, but they're stuck in the sickbay because the doors had closed, right, and they can't get out. And so she says, well, why don't I help you then? I mean, what harm could that be if your imagination helps you to escape this room?
How bad could it get, Jeff?
It could get so bad that T'Pring tricks Spock into letting her get close enough to him to pull his phaser out and stun him. That's how bad it could get. But don't worry, it'll get worse.
It certainly does.
Yeah, and so La'an, she ends up getting off the turbo lift. She's on deck 17, and she encounters, I believe this is where she encounters the ghost person again, like in person. And the ghost person lets her know that you're here because you're one of us. This is where you fit in. And
that's when all the other ghost people show up.
Yeah, and La'an is totally surrounded by these people. So she ends up running off from that. And now Kirk on the bridge, he's experiencing more of the audio hallucination stuff, and he's hearing the baby, and he thinks the baby is actually in the console he's been working on, and he sees a little hand come up, and so he's now tearing through all of this circuitry, trying to get to this baby, to get to baby, and La'an, she ends up. Well, no, wait. We go back to Spock. Yeah, and Spock, he's now strapped to a biobed,
Yeah.
and T'Pring is like, your logic is
Is what's holding you back,
is
kind of
what's
thing.
holding you back. It's your human side that's going to set you free, and everything's about setting you free. And so T'Pring says, "We will extract your Vulcan side," and she cuts the tops of his ears off.
No, just one. Just one ear.
At first, well, she ultimately both of them are cut off because we see the blood on his shirt from both sides. He's lost
Oh, I
both
thought
his
it
ear
was just
tips
one.
ultimately.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
we see the one at first, but later on, when we see him still strapped to the bed and there's blood everywhere,
Green
we
blood.
see the green blood is like it's on both sides of his shirt. So it's both his ears got cut.
Okay.
And then ultimately she's like, part of your problem being Vulcan is that your heart's in the wrong place, but we can fix that. And she pulls out these horrible looking cutting instruments
Yeah.
to, and it's like cuts his shirt open and is going to cut him open and presumably move his heart to somewhere else in his body, which will kill him.
Yes.
And
Funny how that
and
works.
yes, and yeah, and La'an, she had ended up in engineering, and uh, runs away from there, ends up in the quarters of the security officer, where she sees more logs, finds a knife, and and this is about the point where Kirk, back on the Enterprise or on the bridge, is surprised as an away team from Enterprise beams on board, and so now we have Captain Pike and Ensign
Una
Uhura and yeah, Una. So we have number one, and
and
then we
Ortega's
also,
too.
well, yeah, Ortegas and Sam Kirk,
Oh, yes, which is very important.
which is very important. Yep, and they're like, we got to get all of you off the ship, and and they can tell that Jim Kirk, is having lots of problems, and he's like, yeah, we're experiencing all these weird sensations, and yeah, we need to get out of here before whatever's affecting me starts affecting you. And so now that crew has to start splitting up so that they can go get everyone else. And but they can't get a hold of Enterprise, so now they need to get the transporter working on this ship to beam back to Enterprise. So Sam stays with Jim. The rest of the away team heads off to help get engineering taken care of, and the transporter online.
Right, and they're with La'an
Yeah, they ultimately end up with La'an,
in the
and
transporter room.
yes, and so Uhura, she's like, I've got it working. We can beam over one person at a time. And Ortega says, I'll go. Hops on the transporter, and La'an's like, okay, I'll do it. And we get this effect that reminds us of the transporter malfunction in
The first
the
movie.
the first Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And Ortegas is in the transporter beam, and she's screaming in pain, and her body's all distorted. And Uhura's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And she's like, "Hold on," and takes over and shunts Ortegas into the transporter buffer and verifies that her signal is intact and she's okay. And then looks at the information. She's like, "Oh my God, you set the coordinates to beam her into herself. What were you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And La'an, she ends up attacking Uhura, but she doesn't realize she's attacking Uhura. She thinks that the ghost on the ship attacks her, and Uhura's freaking out. And so Uhura thinks that, or no, Uhura has been cut with this blade from the security chief's
Right.
room.
Where they
And
also found out, we left this out.
oh,
They
we
found
did.
out what
Yep.
happened to the crew. That
Oh, right.
there
And it's
were
grisly.
oh, it's very grisly. Several people were stabbed, a couple people were phasered, but the majority of the crew were beamed out into space from wherever they were on the ship, and it was done by Harper, the security
Right.
chief.
Right. Yeah. So she beamed like 278 people from the ship just out into open space while they were alive.
Yeah. So not a good
So
person.
not a good person. So anyhow, it turns out it was La'an who cut Uhura,
Mm-hmm.
and she's standing there like, huh, I've got this bloody knife in my hand, and I guess I did that. And Uhura manages to get away, but then something changes in La'an, and she's like, yeah, I guess this is what I am. And so now La'an is on the hunt. Um, but back up on the bridge, we have a heart to heart between Jim and Sam, and about being parents
Yeah.
and how to balance being in Starfleet with having a family, and and then they realize, oh crap, we have to really step it up because there's chunks of rock
Meteors
that are
that are hitting
yeah,
the
they're hitting the
screen.
view screen and cracking it, so
Yeah.
the glass is going to break. And so they're trying to get the bridge doors open because now those are stuck, and they're fighting with that. And Sam's like, we're going to die here. I know we're going to die here. And with that, a hole gets punched through the glass.
Yeah.
And
Now he was
and
actually acting really weird just before that happened, where it
yeah,
was like, why are you saying those things? And then the hole opens up in the view screen, and he hits that hole.
he gets
And
sucked to the hole. His back is against it.
yeah, and the vacuum of space is literally pulling him inside out into space, and he's just
Yes.
saying these weird things as all that's happening.
And then he's like, tell my boys that I'll see them in their dreams. And Kirk has the door partway open, and with that, the view screen blows out, and Sam's partially inside out body, we see that tumbling away in space. Kirk manages to get into the elevator, and the doors close before he gets sucked out in space. So he watches his brother killed in the most grisly way and then
Yeah.
blown out into space. Yeah.
Then
So
so now they're all, Kirk is trying to make his way to all of the other people, and they at some point, oh god, I just watched
So
this
they-
last night.
we jump around a lot, so
Yeah.
we're getting some of it in the wrong order, which is on brand for me, but we're hitting the important stuff. So we have Pike and Una, Pike and number one, and they find Spock in sickbay, and they unstrap him from the bed, and there's just blood everywhere. He has not been cut open all the way, but his ears have been snipped. And so they help him get out, and they're trying to get out and carry him to the transporter room so they can all get out. And yeah,
Then
so
Pike and who was with him? Number one, Una,
it was number one. They loop back
started
around.
talking really weird and looking at
Mhm.
him and saying the same kinds of things that T'Pring was saying. And you kind of come to the realization that nobody from the Enterprise actually beamed aboard the Griffin.
Yeah,
These
Yeah.
are just continued hallucinations and whatever the effect from the entities or whatever you want to call them that are on this ship.
yeah. Well, okay. And there's a thing that goes along with all this because we're watching all the jumping back and forth, and Uhura got up and ran away from La'an, yelling, "Please don't kill me." We never see her again on that
No.
ship. It's just like, okay, and that character has disappeared. But yes, they take Spock back into sickbay, strap him down on the bio bed, and
T'Pring
so-
comes back at this point too.
right, and they're trying. Spock's trying to tell them, no, she's very dangerous. I mean, this is how I ended up getting injured. And they're like, don't worry about it. It's actually all fine.
Yeah.
And they're strapping him to the bed, and now Una, she's like, I envy you and she's talking really weird about, because of the species that she is, she's being
Right.
held back,
Augmented. Yeah.
and so she's going to fix that. And she takes a medical tool and just slices her abdomen open,
And falls to
and
the ground.
falls to the ground. And then Pike, he's now talking about how much fun this is going to be, and the way the way that he's acting, it's just, it was delightful,
Creepy as
so
hell.
creepy. But anyhow, he ends up with T'Pring. They're standing there talking to Spock, and he's like, we can all stay here. This is great. I will now be set free. And because that theme keeps coming up, and he's talking about how he doesn't have to face his destiny, and he can just be the ship's chef. That would be a lot more fun. And so he takes a knife and he's like, all the food is fresh here.
Oh,
And he starts slicing his fingers off, like from the tips and going back.
like
And he's
3 or 4
laughing.
times.
And he's laughing, but at the same time you can see it's horribly painful for him. And he holds up his bloody hand with his fingers cut off, and then he just drops to the floor unconscious. And now T'Pring's like, okay, giddy up, we're gonna cut you open. And Spock, he starts doing a chant, a poem that T'Pring had said, I needed to use that earlier in the episode. She says, I needed to use that to find my way.
Mm-hmm.
And which ultimately turns out that's Spock's subconscious telling him what he needs to do. So he does it, and he snaps out of the
whatever the scenario that he'd been placed in. So T'Pring disappears. He's no longer tied to the bed. He still has his ears cut, but he looks in his hand. He's holding the scissors.
Yes, he cut his own ears.
Yeah.
That's so messed up. Okay, so now at this point, Kirk, he's on the hunt for everyone else. He finds La'an, and she ends up stabbing him in the abdomen. Like the knife goes completely through him. We see blood
and that's
soaking into his shirt from the backside.
As far as the show goes, that was real. That actually happens.
Right, and he falls down. Yeah, and it looks like, based on where the blood was on his back, the reason he falls down is because his legs don't work right anymore and he can't walk. So he's trying to crawl away from La'an, and
leaving a blood trail the whole way.
And she she gets back up to him, and she makes it very clear she is going to kill him now. And she also makes a comment about how he will die, or his son will die just like him, alone, stabbed on an alien planet. And yeah, you will die alone on an alien planet, just like your son.
Yeah.
And which it turns out is actually true.
Yeah. That's how David was killed in Wrath of Khan.
And Kirk dies alone on an alien planet as well, in Star Trek Generations.
Yeah, but he wasn't alone, though. He was with Picard.
He was alone when he died. Picard found him later and buried him.
No, he was standing right with Kirk when he dies.
No, he's alone. He's alone.
All right, well,
go back and watch.
Agree to disagree.
He's alone. That's okay. Okay. Eventually, you're going to be like, oh, damn it, Jeff.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So how do they get off the ship?
They right as La'an is about to start just chopping into Kirk, they get beamed off.
Right.
And now they're on the real Enterprise, just our three shuttlecraft people. And Kirk, he's bleeding all over the transporter pad. And now that they're on Enterprise, it's like, oh, they've all snapped out of it. And La'an's like, oh my God. Like, she's now clearly disturbed by what's been happening. And so everyone gets carted off to sick bay. And and we don't know what's going on uh, with those people and their experience on the Griffin. But we do get this whole scene with Dr. Mabenga and Captain Pike, where Pike says, "Yeah, we're turning this over to Division 12,
Right.
which is like the paranormal investigation team
For
for
Starfleet.
Starfleet."
Yeah.
And
It's their X-Files division, I
it's
guess.
it's their X-Files division, and we find out that Kirk's going to be okay because we have Starfleet medical technology, and so he's recovering. We get a scene where Spock is in his quarters, and Chapel comes in, and
Repairs his
she
ears, yeah.
yeah. So apparently they grew new ear tips for him, and then she attached them, and then so we have that, and so we're getting this whole kind of resolution for all these characters, and then we go to La'an, and she's in her quarters looking out her window, and we see this Division 12 starship towing the Griffin out of the asteroid field, and you can
One
see
last thing.
this one window on the saucer section of the Griffin. There's you can see there's a light in this window, and La'an's looking at it, and so they zoom in for us, and we see it's the Harper ghost, and she puts her finger up to her lips and goes, "Shh."
Such a good episode. Oh my God. Oh, had me on the edge of my seat that whole episode, wondering what the hell was going to go on next. Though I kind of got the feeling that when Pike and Una and the rest of them beamed onto the ship, onto the Griffin, that it wasn't really them. It just seemed like there was so much time left in the episode that there had to be something else that was going to happen, and of course it did.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I thought they could be the actual people, and then the rest of the episode is now we're all trapped here, and we're all starting to spiral out, but we have to still find a way to get this ship to move out to where we can get to Enterprise, or we can get the transporter working. Do whatever magic thing it takes to get off the ship.
So that's the first two episodes, and of course, spoilers aplenty. But they're both. I'm going to watch both of them again. Definitely going to watch, especially the second one. Got to watch the second one again because there were obviously things that I missed. Just sitting there going the whole time that I was watching it. We were talking earlier, and we're going to have to wrap this up. We were talking earlier about La'an, and one of the things that is going on with her, she's starting to kind of lose herself because she's related to Khan Noonien Singh, for anyone who doesn't know that. And she's starting to kind of not feel herself or the way that she thinks that she should be. And one of the things that, and it was almost like a joke when the person said it. They're like, "Well, you're not going to try to take over the galaxy, are you?" And she goes,
"I don't know.
Says, I don't know." And so I think I think that her character arc this season, and I have no idea where it's going to end, is going to be a hell of a trip.
I agree.
And I'm really, really looking forward to it. Okay, so I think we need to wrap this. This actually went on much longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, in future episodes, we're going to have to keep the synopsis down to a shorter thing.
Yeah. And we're not, I mean, every week isn't going to be like, okay, well, this happened on Strange New Worlds. There's so much stuff to talk about with Star Trek. But since this was the first two episodes for the fourth season of Strange New Worlds, I think Jeff was correct in saying, well, we need to talk about this, especially because of how strong these first two episodes have been.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. So before we wrap up, I mentioned we got to set up for a Division 12 series, potentially. So that could be another Star Trek franchise show. Here's what they could do.
Wait, before you go any farther, What do you
Hmm.
think about that being animated?
I hadn't even thought about that. I'd be totally fine with that. But here's what I'm thinking. What if this is why we don't see number one later on? Because she goes to Division 12.
Oh, that would be a good point.
And then we could have Unachin Riley on her Division 12 episodes.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a pretty good show. And of course, I mean, everyone, not everyone, but a lot of Star Trek people are screaming for there to be a continuation of um, the Enterprise G at the end of Picard season 3, because
Yeah.
that was such a setup for like another series, and they just haven't done anything with it. And I love Jerry Ryan. I think she's great.
Yeah,
Um,
she was fantastic.
the character, I can't remember her name. She was in all 3 seasons of Picard.
Raffi.
Yeah,
But
Raffi
Picard's number one after
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 Riker.
Riker.
Yeah, she was okay. You know, but and even Picard's son, he kind of grew on me as the 3rd season went along, but I wasn't really all that enamored with him at first. But moving all past that, they really need to keep the ball rolling and do it in such a way, because some of the stuff that has been released during the Kurtzman era has just turned off a large portion of the fan base for the show. And I have no idea if that was done on purpose. That was a really not a smart move, I think. Um,
Yeah, I don't think it's on purpose. And I don't know if it's a majority of people. I would go so far as to say it's a very vocal minority.
yeah. I hate watched all 5 seasons of Discovery for that matter, but that's a whole nother topic. Jeff, if people wanted to find you, how would they do those things?
How about if they go to my blogs, freshbrewedtales.com or jgamet.com, or find me on the social medias as jgamet, and or maybe go find me on other shows that I do with you, like Mac Voices Live or In Touch with iOS.
And I'm I'm kind of guessing it's going to have to wait till tomorrow, but we're going to record a G-Men show together,
Mm-hmm.
and that's coming up as well. So if you wanted to get hold of me, the easy way to do it, of course, you can call our Google Voice number, which is 703-828-4677. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. I don't have an email address set up for this, but if you can, if you contact us on if you see this show and you contact us on the socials, that's probably for at least for now, that's a good way to get a hold of us. I am Vertshark and MacParrot on most of the socials, where I'm hanging out mostly, because I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm on X. Because I'm a glutton for punishment for the other side, I'm on Skies of Blue. And it's becoming punishment over on Threads. I had such high hopes for
Man,
Threads.
I gave up on Threads already.
It's just
I tried twice and it was like, nope.
it's just degenerated into the same crap that you see on all of these other social media networks. And of course, Guy Searle over there on the Books of Face. And yeah, I think that's going to be it, Jeff. So we will do another episode. I don't know when. It's going to depend on when Jeff and I have time that we can sit down together, because we're both very, very busy. You're on a bunch of shows. We're both also on, besides In Touch with iOS, Mac Voices. Of course, I'm also doing the G-Men show and a few other things as well. But just stay with us, folks. This is going to be a fun ride, and we are both big Star Trek fans. But
Clearly.
we're not Star Trek fans to the point where we just say, "Oh, everything is wonderful," because sometimes it's not.
Or we're also not Star Trek fans in the sense of this one thing doesn't appeal to me, therefore Star Trek is horrible and this show is horrible. And
Right.
no, we can accept the good and the bad and the things that don't appeal to us personally.
Right. And appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it, Jeff. I don't have like a, context machine. The guy that does the bass. Who is that?
Ricky Spiro, Dr. Ricky. Well, we call him Dr. Boom.
Dr. Boom. God, so if you want to see Jeff also in his natural element, check out he and Brian Griffin on the context machine. Huh?
Brian Chaffin.
I'm still in Star Trek mode. Brian Chaffin. I'm going to get there. If you just give me a second. I believe in you. I will get there. And anyway, we will see you next time. Hopefully, I will be able to announce ahead of time where you can watch us, where you can participate, either over there on the Books of Face or the Tubes of You. And we'll see you next time. Say good night, Jeff.
Good night, Jeff.
Two weirdos, one starship mic, one last late night, drifting out of sight. Warp speed weirdos, roll credits, take it slow. Warp speed weirdos, see you where the Trekkies go.
MX789.